Hey, so just a really quick recap. I won't make it too long, hopefully. The idea, when we learn anything, we learn it in C. We try our intervals. Get associated with the notes by going through in minor seconds, then major seconds, right? You get your whole tones down and then doing in minor thirds. When you do your minor thirds up, you kind of feel them in a different way then. Yeah? Instead of having like a minor, you then feel the third of the diminish. It helps define flat 3, flat 5, and then flat 3, flat 5. Seeing it a couple different ways for the augmented, diminished, minor, and major. One of the key takeaways when we're writing anything, our example today was D minor. If we condense all of this into here and maybe keep that G note going down to the... Start practicing maybe with our hands here when we move down for our thumb for the B flat here. Instead of doing just the B flat with our thumb, move it all the way down. So we have the lower note here, one of the chords. So when we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, what it does is it moves through the chord and it has a melody that you move this note down here. Eventually, if you do this D minor with the A on the bottom, you might hear and just that movement of the one note makes it easier to get from the D minor to the C7, which you're not really even defining up here, because if you do, it defines it as a B. So if we define a D minor with the A locally, then we can move this down, which feels like it's a tonal or passing chord, but then that secondary B deprives it of the resolution and puts it down here. Oops, sorry, I have a sus. So when we do move that, we would have our cool sounding C7-ish chord, and then we'd have our B, and you can even move it down again. Work yourself around these notes in half steps and whole steps. Sometimes if you move your fingerings and they don't work as far as being a perfect fourth, you'll hear an augmented or a minor or a major second or a minor second, but either way, all those are tones that we could start hearing and then writing with. So down the number line, if we went down this C7 to a B, we can move that up then. So the feeling kind of is like you're really composed around one chord, the D minor, moving down to its dominant seventh and then down to its sixth and back up. So when we talk about just seeing the relativity, when we switch to that B flat, where it changes, where the B section becomes the B flat, maybe that's the great time to influence it with that one extra note, or even incorporate that in the bass as something different. Maybe put a D in the bass. See how that just adds a ridiculous amount of tension that we're not able to resolve? One, because we're playing two of the notes from D minor, and then from this, the B minor is the fourth of F. So the resolution that we want to hear is back to the C and then the D minor. So maybe a possibility of playing around with the chords, you'd hear the D minor in an inversion, C7 with just a B flat in the bass. When we go to the B flat itself, the B flat has a D in the bass, adds the F, and then drops down maybe to have a different feel, to have a D in the bass again when you go to that B flat major. And then that bass note might be the bass note feeling that you have for the rest of the song, because that's the feeling that has now been acquired by using an alternate note inside the inversion. So to whoop, 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 back it on up. If we're going to be using the D minor, you look at all the different variations of that D minor triad until you find them in both octaves, and you stop having to jump around so much, and you get more comfortable with moving between those notes. And believe it or not, those notes arpeggiated sound great. And here's where our minor pentatonic would come in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. When we go up to a perfect octave, that is D Dorian. That is not D natural minor. So to have that in D natural minor, we would have the same amount of flats that you would think. D is going to go to E. E is going to hit its third, right? We have our fourth, our fifth, but then we don't have a natural six here, do we? Why? Because it's in the key signature. F has one flat, that B flat gives us. So that's where I start off as far as hearing. Working that down, the melody I came up with was just descending. Then I try my fingerings where I am. If I don't like it, I move my thumb on. If I don't like the dominant chord the minor chord being held over the top of this, then I move it down to that C. If I like the stagnant note repeating the phrasing over the top of both chords and maybe that third chord, and then continuing through with the key signature. There are just so many options, and I'm gonna back up off your song before I start writing it for you. However, you are on the right path. This is the exact way I look at it. So D minor, you could even change out D natural minor for D Dorian. Adding in that natural sixth there is gonna blow your mind. Also, you don't have to stay there. You can stay at linked to like your Phrygian, right? You could throw that in. We learned today that a natural Neapolitan major has a flat 3. It's counterintuitive to our whole system of naming chords by a major or minor third. So if we've got a 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's not too hard in the key of D. D, flat 2, here's our flat 3, and then the rest of them go on out, right? Except for we have to have the B flat, sorry. So there's so many songs after you hear that, just right there. And that's just the pentatonic of your D minor. 5 notes. Now the pentatonic of that D minor would be 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, right? So when we're going here, we have to have our C and then D. No B, sorry. Is this the real pentatonic? So go through your chords that you're choosing for these, write them out in Chord Pro like we did on the board, and you will find yourself being able to add secondary dominants right before chords. Just a reminder, C major, when I want to go to, like, let's say G major and then F major, I could put a secondary dominant in front of both of those. I could put a G7 right before the C. And then right before the F, we could put it E diminished. Or we could play a C7. It gives us the same tonality, but we don't have to include the E as being the root note. We could have the C as the root note. That's a C7. And it feels great going into an F. So all of these have secondary dominants you could use, and you could put secondary dominants in front of secondary dominants. So we were doing G7 into a C. Well, let's do A7 into G7. Awesome. We were doing an E diminished or a C7 into F, so let's try D7 into C7 into F. Yeah, not so great, but that's why you choose through all of them. Anywho, great seeing you today. Till next week, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm here for you. Aloha.